proud of people and help them out changing their mindset so they don't be like the people that are like either looking down the grocery store. Because I feel like martial arts gives you some type of confidence, some type of way of like looking at life like on a more on a better way.
What's up, everybody? This is BC. We got another special podcast interview for you. We got my boy Jon on here. I'll let him introduce himself in a second. I've been continuing this series and doing my best to bring you guys different guests, just so you guys get a better feel for kind of what I'm doing out here in Miami and who I'm spending my time with. So, Jon, what's up, bro? Welcome to the show.
Man. How are you, man? Thank you for having me.
Good, bro. If you want to do a quick introduction, and then we'll jump right into it.
All right. So my name is Jon Calderon. I'm a former fighter. Recently, I'm starting to do coaching now for fighters as well. So I'm training at a gym in downtown, and right now I'm just doing a lot of different stuff. Coming ahead now, trying to become a mindset coach.
Yeah, I see you transforming, bro. It's cool. Yeah. So I originally met Jon, I think through Chris Heria and some of the other guys that I was training with when I got into calisthenics. And I saw Jon training. He was a cool dude. So I said, okay, I go to Boxer, which is the gym that he trains at. And I said, man, when I get back into boxing, I'm going to hit him up, because the gym that I used to go to, you guys know, when I moved out here, it closed down. So you stopped fighting, right?
Yeah. Right now I stopped fighting. It was a hard decision.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of like taking a look of where the things that I want in life compared to the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I feel like it's very hard to say no to some things when you know that like it's just not there.
Yeah.
And you want to like get somewhere that you know you're pushing yourself back by just continually keeping to stay there. So I got to a point that I'm like, I just knew that my best way to get to what I want to be in life, I had to stop doing something. And then the career part, to me, the career was kind of like already to the point that it was just not there. So, yeah.
How long had you been fighting for? Like, when did you start?
So I started 2011. That's when I started training. Started fighting a year later. I started doing jiu-jitsu. So I competed like over, I don't know, maybe 15 times during my first like year and a half.
In just jiu-jitsu?
In just jiu-jitsu.
Oh, dope.
And then I built the confidence to go from jiu-jitsu to MMA.
Nice.
So the whole idea was to see if jiu-jitsu will work. My jiu-jitsu will work and fighting.
Dope.
So I just transitioned to like learning some boxing, learning some wrestling, like something like a form of what we call MMA, like the mixed martial arts together.
Yeah.
And I went out there to see if those little things will help me out get my jiu-jitsu through a fight.
Yeah.
And then I got some wins, you know, I got some losses, like anything, some learning experiences.
Yeah.
And my last fight was about a year and a half ago. Actually, it was October of about 2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago. Wow.
That was my last fight. Coming off a loss. And that's when like I kind of like I started to see like what was the reasons. My person that I train really, really hard all the time. But I noticed the people that are starting to now have as a competitors are very, very young, hungry kids.
Yeah.
21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. I'm 34 now.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for, as you can tell, 12 years.
Yeah.
And it gets a point when you start to see like where you are and then where you want to be, and sometimes your body is just so like beat up to a point that it's like you have to know like is it good to be there or not?
Yeah.
You know? So I think for me it was just better transitioning into coaching and allow to the new generation, like trying to help the new generation.
Yeah.
Just grow. Yeah. Instead of putting myself in there.
Right.
Like I was getting
it's a tough decision, bro, because like I played basketball professionally, and because of injuries I had to stop. But I stopped when I was young. I stopped when I was 25 after my second surgery, and I was like, fuck, like I still had that. I wanted to play. But because of the severity of the injuries and me not being able to pass physicals, I couldn't anymore. So I had to make that choice, like, I have to change my life and do something different, versus just sitting there like, I want to go back, because I could still play, but I couldn't play at the level that I played before.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hardest things to realize, because like like anything, you're gonna go to your gym, and I travel around the world. Especially like when I was in Asia, and I was called competitive with a lot of big name people. Like I mean, a lot of UFC fighters.
Nice.
I train with a lot of high level people, and to hear the majority of these people saying, "Damn, like you're a really good fighter. Like you're gonna definitely make it." You know, like you hear these things from not just your family and friends, but for people that don't know you, they're like, wow, like
Yeah.
you're good, right? And I'm like, yeah, I always hear this, but like now you're trying to believe it in yourself. Like, oh damn, like everybody really thinks I'm good.
Yeah.
But just like when you got to tell yourself when to stop, it's kind of like, damn, like you feel like you still have it in you.
Yeah.
But then you keep going and going, and you're like the outcome is different than what you expect.
Right.
And like I said, it's not because you're doing something wrong, and like I'm partying and then I'm trying to fight, and it's like the outcome is not there because I'm not doing the things right. It's the opposite. When you're not doing everything right, but the outcome is still negative to what you expect. So it's like something must be not right, and I think it's just the same thing. Like just knowing that like I'm just it's just not for me anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So
when do you think? When was it? Do you remember the day or around the time that you made the decision? Like, yo, I'm not going to fight anymore.
So that was like an on and off thing. Once again, it was one of those things that like you think about it sometimes. Like I remember I told myself after my last fight because I lost. I told myself I suck. Like that's it. I suck. Like I could have won this fight. I don't know how, and I beat myself for a little bit, but I always felt like I always had a strong mind, and I was able to overcome that like as I was going. But then I started to see other things like I couldn't work for a period of time. The sacrifice I've been doing for a long time of like financially, especially. Like I didn't have a job like an actually good job because I needed time to train. I train day, I train night. I have to do conditioning in the afternoon.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah.
It's a lifestyle, and it requires a lot of time. And you know, when you put a lot of time into that, you're not getting paid. Your financial become, low, and I didn't like the way I was living my life.
Yeah.
And I started to say like the same way I put my time into fighting. If I wanted to grow where I want to be in life, I needed to put more time into something else that will bring me that. Because I wasn't seeing the results in fighting. So that's when I started to trigger me, like, maybe I should stop. So then I'm like, if my mind is not there when they're offering me fights, I feel like I have a pressure to fight. You know, so then I started to just kind of like shift a little bit. I'm like, I just, let me take some time to finish doing what I'm doing and I get back. And then I started to see that the more time was taken. And then I started to feel like I was doing way better as a coach. Plus, a lot of people, the same thing. Some people tell you like, yo, you're a really good coach. I've been thought about taking a coaching career. And I'm like, I'm still a fighter. I don't want to shift from the fighting. But then once again, when I started to see the part of coaching was meeting my needs to my wants, then I'm like, then I had a talk with my mindset coach. I had a mindset coach, and it opened my eyes with some questions that really got me to think how much longer that I wanted to continue to procrastinate the life that I wanted. You know, just because I had an idea of something that I was that I wanted from before. You know, like people sometimes you have like this idea of like you're a fighter and that's all I know. So I identified as a fighter for the past 12, 13 years. That's all I did. All I knew, right? People ask me, I'm like, oh yeah, I fight. And it was kind of like a little more beyond that. So when she started to ask me questions and she like, I know exactly where you want, where you're basically pretty much you're fighting for freedom. But if you take a look at where you are right now and your age, you're starting to put so much pressure on yourself. And once again, where my career is at right now, it's not going to take me there. I understand if I was like a UFC fighter and I was already making money at the age that I am, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm still there and I know the potential of can continue. But where I am sitting at the moment, I feel like I'm already older for the things that I got to go through still to be able to get where I want to get. So it's not about taking like an easier route, but it's just knowing that there's a lot of other things that I have, other potentials that I have that I can get me to the main result that I'm looking forward to having in life, which is my freedom eventually, like being able to travel, being able to one day have a family and not have to worry about money, work, you know, which is what most people focus on. Like I have to work to pay bills, to do this, to do that. I want to be able to be free from that. And I thought if I could make it to a big stage, like, you know, make it to UFC, become a champion, eventually, like it was gonna be my way of freedom. My way of traveling around the world and doing stuff. And I did it before even becoming a professional fighter. I started traveling and fighting. I competed in Australia. I never thought in a million years I was gonna be in Australia, you know.
That's cool.
And I think the sport brought me to a lot of different places. But when I started to take a look at like, okay, I'm 34, I have some wins, some losses on my game, and if we really think about how long it's gonna take me to potentially get there, the ratios are like most likely I'm gonna become old and I probably didn't even make it.
Yeah.
Do I wanna risk that time?
Yeah.
And maybe not make it anywhere at the end of the day and just continue to push something, or should I shift to something I know I will enjoy, love, do, and still get to the outcome that I want in life?
Yeah. So it became more about like your fulfillment and what you want out of life.
Yeah.
Right. So you started transitioning into coaching. I know you coach now a boxer. What else are you really looking to add to that, or is that kind of the main thing that you're focusing on now?
So the coaching area was, once again, is one of those things that I'm like, all right, I know I'm really good as a fighter. I can transition this into putting in other people's hands and help them out becoming better. So I have like some kids in my classes that are competing.
Yeah.
And nothing feels better than see them win.
Yeah.
And like they look at me and I'm like, thank you, coach, you know?
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like, okay, I'm giving back to the sport the whatever way I can.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this since I noticed I'm starting to become better and I can help out people.
Yeah.
But now, like I said, this was like my teammates, right?
Yeah.
But now I know that like I actually this is my job, it's my duty to have a team and guide them through success. It's the very first time that I actually have my own team. I taught before when I was in Thailand. But it wasn't like my actual team that I was teaching. People were coming in and out. You know, I feel it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Now I literally consider these guys my boys. It's like a small family that you create.
Yeah.
And it becomes very defensive. Like I never want to go and corner someone and see them get hurt. So I try to give them the best tools I can. But also recently, what happened was I started to see few things that I noticed, obviously as a competitor, fighter myself. Things that we go through, there are things that we don't speak of. Talking about the mindset of a fighter.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fights. There's nothing different between two people fighting, getting ready for a fight, and then one has the outcome of winning and losing. Then people say like, "But I trained so hard. I don't know what went wrong."
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just the mindset of what makes a difference in a fighter. So it's when people say like fighting is more mental than physical, and people beat themselves mostly physical. And I know it's a lot of people out there that can help any guy become good physically.
Yeah.
Or how many coaches are in the game right now that can help out someone mentally.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like as we continue to grow the sport, we find dietitians nowadays. They're like, oh, you know, you got to have your diet right. Yeah. Back in the days, really people didn't have that.
Yeah.
And it's becoming like a discussion between people like, oh, you know, you should do things the Oscar way. And it's like the Oscar way was the Oscar way. Unfortunately, like the world's evolving. Yeah. And it's a lot of new technology, right? It's a lot more sources. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how close are you to like the sports of like fighting sports? Do you know like what one championship is?
Not a lot, bro. I mean, I've always like watched boxing and admired it from afar, but like I started boxing a couple years ago, and then I stopped, and I kind of watched it, but I don't know too much about it. No. Yeah.
So like they have recently. Maybe because I talked about it a lot, or you know how like they always listen to it, right? Yeah. But a few things been coming out lately. It was one. It was a boxer who was like a layoff for like 2 years. He won a fight. After his fight, he started crying. He was like. He wanted like talk about, I think was he said like I was out for 2 years due to depression. Yeah. And he said he went to the darkest times of his life, and he had to obviously weigh into like, and then sometimes it happens that like we lose a fight, and I feel like the world ends because that's what we live for. We train hard to fight to win. Yeah. So the outcome is going to be winning. Nobody wants to lose. But when it happens, what happens to your mind? Like, where do you go? Yeah. How fast it is to recover, you know? And like I said, sometimes you start going even deeper to that. Like, why are you even fighting? Yeah. If you look at a lot of people that go into the fighting game, their stories are like my dad was an alcoholic and abusive, or you know, my mom wasn't around. Like, it's always some type of like how you call it trauma behind the stories, right? Yeah. Some people thrive through that, and some people kind of like always live with that in their heads.
Yeah.
Right. And
no, you're right. It's like the people who had the alcoholic parents. Some people become alcoholics and blame their parents, or some people are like, I'm never going to do it, and they have a good life. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, like, of course, the ones that already kind of like thriving from that, then great, they strong-minded people,
Yeah.
I feel like we all have something we went through in life, but there are some people that like sometimes subconsciously they never really pass that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like I said, it doesn't have to be nothing from that, but sometimes when it comes down to fighters, when you lose a fight, your mind starts to play tricks on you.
Yeah.
And it starts telling you things like, I don't know, maybe you get knocked out or you get submitted. Now you think that's gonna happen to you again.
Yeah.
And the more you think about it, the more it becomes reality.
Yeah. Right.
So,
like, how was it for you after? I know I'm kind of cutting you off, but how was it for you? Like your first loss? Like, what was that process like? How long did it take you to kind of get over it? And or was it just easy for you?
So for me, it was easy because I feel like in life I had a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
So I feel like to me it was trying to be more relatable to things. Like I remember my first loss, I cried. Like I left the stage and I went to the back and I started bawling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I was on the field, I was 2-0, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, I can't believe this guy beat me because I had him in everything you can think of, and I know I was better.
Yeah.
The problem is when you know you are better.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I think the nerve kicked in at one point.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I couldn't finish him or whatever, and I got tired.
Yeah.
So what I did was, of course, when I finished, I blame everything on like, oh, I got tired. But I know I trained super hard. But I knew I got tired, so I'm like, I'm never gonna get tired. So I started overtraining myself, thinking that was the reason why.
Yeah.
And one second, it was one of those things that I didn't took that much time beating myself up like months, but for a while I was like, I'm gonna be the hardest worker in the room.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my way of doing it.
Yeah.
But then I started to realize other things that got me to my next fight, and I was super nervous for my next fight. I still got through it, and I was able to win. I actually won, like, I remember my fourth fight. I fought somebody that was bigger than me at a bigger weight class, and I beat him like in, I think it was like 2 minutes or so.
Nice.
So I'm like, great, we're back. But like I said, I feel like as you you start to climb the ladder and you start to fight bigger fights at the high stakes, right? Like talking about UFC. There's a lot of people that have a lot of pressure. From home, from the team, from things, from their past, whatever. It's a lot of fighters that still have a regular job.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to make it, even at the biggest stage. But it's a lot of people that go through a lot of stuff, and sometimes fighting is what they give them kind of like the peace, the freedom of like express themselves to say. Yeah. And there are other ones that their pressure doesn't allow them to do, and even when they do, the outcome becomes the wrong outcome, which it's gonna be losing, right? Yeah. So I went through this. I saw these fights the other day. It was in one championship where this girl was a current champion. Her sister became suicide. Her sister was fighting as well. She was 17 years old.
Wow.
She became suicide, and she was supposed to have a fight to defend her belt. It's talking about a girl that's been fighting for like over like a decade. Mm-hmm. She was one of the first moms. Everybody admired her over there in Asia. Yeah. And as she was driving, she just flipped her car and trying to kill herself.
Oh, shit.
And then she talked about the story live as they were doing the event. And she said the reason why, because she thought it was too much pressure. She didn't want to fight, but she didn't know how to say no or how to like cancel the fight.
Yeah.
And
she went to an extreme.
Yeah. It got to the point that she didn't know how to like get off the fight. She said I tried to injure myself.
Yeah.
I tried to injure myself in camp.
Yeah.
And it was not even possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I wonder a lot of times if that really had happened to other people. Because I've seen people when we call this a lot of times when we have fights and somebody like, oh, person got injured, and we're like, oh, he just quit. Like he didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight.
Scared,
He got scared. That's the main thing you say.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like there are some people that get scared and they look for a way out. They will look for an excuse. And there are some people they do get injured. But the main thing is like where the mindset is when the person when the person like that, you already been a champion, you already know what it takes to be a champion. You had defended your belt, all right? You left, you came back.
Yeah.
And you're still, like I said, you're still at the top, and like you're learning something new, you're fighting somebody you haven't known. Like you kind of already seen everything you already seen. It's just another fight. Your mind is there, like, I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, what is it? You know?
Yeah.
So I felt like it was pretty interesting. Now that I'm older and like I'm starting to like see the world different.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, like this mindset thing is something big. I feel like a lot of people can benefit to try to thrive in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Like in life. So that's what like my I feel like my next step is trying to be now. It's like to try to become a mindset coach, allow people to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that they want to do.
That's big, bro. And that's kind of like a realization that I had, because in all the coaching and training that I do on the business side and like real estate and sales, mindset is probably 80-90% of it when I teach people. And a lot of the events and lectures that I do are around it, because when I was developing, I noticed it was all up here, because all the stuff that you need to do, like you said, the physical aspect of it, or you need to do action A, B, C, you can learn that just on paper. But what stops somebody from doing it? What makes me go every day hard, no matter what, no matter how I feel, on and on and on. And then the next guy does it one day and then he quits. It's the same stuff. Yeah. It's up here what's different, right? And there's so many pieces to that puzzle too. So like for you, what are maybe some of the biggest things that you're learning and realizations that you're having about mindset that you're starting to see in the world now and in your life?
So once again, for me is the way I'm viewing, like for example, life right now is like I said before, I had a kind of like a one way of looking at things before, like how I view myself as and what I could do.
Like I'm the fighter.
Yeah. Exactly. I was like, I'm a fighter. I even told myself a lot of times, like I go to an event and if nobody's talking about fighting, then I just feel out of place.
Yeah.
It's like, what else do I talk about? I'm like, do you fight? You know about fighting? They're like, no. And I'm like, oh, then, you know, like I kind of feel uncomfortable, you know, and like, I'm like, oh, so like I tend to just be surrounded by fighters only.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my community, but it's just fine. But once again, for me, it's like, it's like opening my mind to how many things that we can really do.
Yeah.
You know, like if I keep my mind can, like I said, one of the things that I'm doing right now, I was super afraid of public speaking.
Yeah.
And in order for me to do that, I have to go and take a course.
That's why you did this event and all this stuff.
I'm doing this event and I'm doing another one next week. So I'm flying out to Chicago.
Nice.
And I don't, this is my first time, like I said, doing this. Second time was not be now. But it's just overcoming those fears. Yeah. And all those fears are where? In my mind.
Yeah.
I keep telling myself I know how to speak and I know the reasons why now. Yeah. Once is because when I came to America at the age of 17, I didn't spoke English. Zero. Yeah. And everybody make fun of me and my way of learning. I didn't want to talk to people for about 2 years. I learned how to like understand people, but I always spoke back to them in Spanish. Yeah. Until like one of my friends told me, you need to start speaking because otherwise you're not going to learn. Yeah. And I told him, I'm like, I don't want to do that because I know people are going to make fun of me. And he like, and so what? Yeah. People will make fun of you, laugh at you, and correct you if they want to do that. If not, then whatever. Yeah. And it happened, yeah. And I started talking, and then people started laughing, and they'll be like, no, you don't say it like this, you say it like that. Yeah. And I'm like, cool.
But it's all up here.
Yeah, and exactly. And well, now it's been 12 years or so, 13 years or so that I started like speaking English. And I mean, I know my accent is pretty heavy. I have a pretty heavy accent. But a lot of people sometimes are surprised that I didn't spoke Spanish at the age of 17. Yeah. And I didn't went to school. I was too old. As I came here, started working right away. Yeah. So other things that I have to develop to do on my own. But once again, it was all in my head. Yeah. And I have to change my mindset on that. Otherwise, I would have been like a lot of other people. They're so afraid and they just never do. Yeah. So I have to learn how to take action. Yeah. You know? And taking action comes from having a mindset. Yeah. Either a goal, like something you want to achieve. You got to have a mindset for that as well. Yeah.
So I know that public speaking is a big thing for you. Are there other like main things that you kind of want to tackle right now outside of public speaking?
I mean, that's like the area that I am focusing on right now, which that's obviously um, gonna dictate like where it's gonna be next. Like I
Yeah.
want to try that out, um, but I still have obviously my passion as a competitor. Like also
Yeah.
like as a not fighter anymore, but like
Yeah.
in the part I like to continue to train. I train every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
and just trying to see what else can I do with my team right now, in the gym.
Yeah.
So continue to grow my team, continue to see if I can uh, still continue to help people in that area.
Yeah.
But if I said eventually, I do want to shift from that, and if I can develop a way to become some type of like motivation speaker,
Yeah.
uh, and be able to like bring some type of value
Yeah.
in that particular area, that'll be great. Because I always sucked at talking. So I feel like if I can overcome that and do something great about it, then it's like, okay, I'm growing.
Yeah. Well, it's a skill, bro. And that's what I tell people. It's like whether, it was you coming and learning English or whatever it is, we do social media or we go out and we talk to people, but like it's not taught. Like when we go to school, they don't teach us public speaking unless you take a public speaking course.
Of course.
But even then it's one semester, couple months, and that's it. Like I tell people, when you go out in a regular day, how many people are you actually talking to? And most people will tell me zero. They
Yeah.
they go to the supermarket, they keep their head down, they check out, they leave. They're not, oh hey, how are you? Like they're not like, you even go to the gym and yeah, people have their friends, but outside of that, most of them don't really talk and interact with new people.
Yeah.
So we don't develop the skill. So I tell people, if you don't develop the skill and you're not talking to people, how are you going to be a good public speaker or communicator if you never talk to anybody?
Yeah.
But it becomes this thing, well, I'm just going to go on my phone or I'm just going to DM somebody. Even in my industry, bro, in real estate, people will run away from talking to people. I'm like, bro, that's how we do business.
Exactly.
That's how we grow.
Yeah.
That's the core of everything, right? If you want to touch somebody, if you want to do public speaking, you need to be good at talking to people, but everybody runs away from it because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy.
100%. And it's exactly what you're saying. You start seeing these things, and for me, like what do I really do when it comes down to what I'm doing right now? I am coaching, but most of the things that I do is hospitality.
Yeah.
Right. I'm constantly meeting people, but I only have so many hours of the day and so many people I can take as clients.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am helping some people, like whatever the case might be. I always say, like some people want to come and just box, and then like, oh, I just want to know how to box. Some people are like, oh, just in case I get into a fight, I want to know how to box better.
Yeah.
Some people tell me like, I just do it for fun, and some people like to do it because this is stress from work.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I'm like, what if I can do something bigger than just that?
Yeah.
Like if I can just get to talk to on a crowd of people and help them out changing their mindset, so they don't be like the people that are like either looking down the grocery store. Because I feel like martial arts gives you some type of confidence, some type of way of like looking at life like on a better way, to like approach kind of like life, and it starts when you're kids. That's why it's good to put kids sometimes into like martial arts, because it helps them out. If you find a community in that area as well,
competition. Yeah. And like another thing that I tell people is a lot of, especially men, they're missing something because they're afraid of confrontation, because they know, hey, if it gets physical, fuck, I can't, you're going to kick my ass. Yeah. And that makes them hold back and like go into their shell. And that's why, like when I started my real estate team back when I was still living in California, I forced all of my people that work with me to do boxing with me, to teach them that, to do the competitiveness, to get the competitive, but also to teach them and give them that confidence. Mm-hmm. And you saw the difference in people right away. Within a month or two, they walk more confidently. They're a lot less like, I don't know if you notice, the people who aren't fighters are like, hey, bro, what the fuck? Like they're usually the ones who are more shit talkers. Yeah. Because all the fighters I know, bro, they're chill. They're like, no, bro, it's okay. Yeah. They're not trying to be the tough guy. Yep. But the fake tough guys are the ones who have that like insecurity, like, oh, I don't know how to fight, so I need to pretend like I'm a lion,
Yeah, that's something that is actually, I think, is pretty funny, because it is true. Like we tend to be the less expected person, unless we have like the cauliflowers. Yeah. But like for the most part, you see they're like the chillest, one of the chillest guys,
Because you're confident and sure in what you can do, And
people always are like, oh, I bet you can beat my ass, and we're like, at least myself, I always say like, I'm like, no, hell no. I'm like, come on, look at you, you're so big, stuff like that. But I try to be humble with it. I mean, once again, I mean, what do I get from cockiness when you're ready? Like if you already know how to fight, there are some people they do know how to fight, and they still take that to an extreme. Sometimes they're like, oh, they really think they can beat the world, and
Yeah.
and then you see them out there just being crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Once again, there are fighters, there are martial artists. I consider more myself
Yeah.
as a martial artist. I have like a respect for fighting.
Yeah.
I only do fighting in the cage.
Yeah.
I don't really fight. I'm not the person to find problems outside.
Yeah.
You know, go out somewhere and I'm like, oh, I know I can beat his ass, and I'm just gonna start problem with him just because I know I could do it.
Right.
I avoid to the point of when I cannot avoid anymore.
Yeah.
Like if I have to, then I just try to use a source where I don't have to like really hurt him much.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna just go and just beat him to death. You know.
Yeah.
Maybe I choke him out and just leave him in the floor, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, like you look to it. It got to a point where you look to it.
Yeah.
But besides that, like I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of people you cannot say nothing to them, and they know how to find it. Like what? And boom, they just don't take anything. You know?
Right, of course, man, of course. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, bro. You know, it's funny that you brought up the public speaking. I'm doing some events coming up soon, so I might ask you to speak if you're down.
Oh man, that would be amazing. I mean, to me, like I said, even being here today, my last workshop was about OPS, is like being in other people's platforms.
Yeah.
So like this to me is like being in a platform right now that is helping me outreach other people. So once again, it's one of those things that I'm experiencing. So I'm kind of like, okay, I took the course and I'm here today. Yeah. So I really appreciate you and everything you do.
Of course, bro. You should start your own podcast, bro.
Eventually, I mean, that could be something. You know, like I have ideas of obviously maybe do something with a podcast later on. I've been trying to do the whole YouTube thing. Yeah. But I feel like I want to focus on one thing at a time. I want to get with these courses first. Make sure I get my certifications on the what I'm doing right now for the mindset thing. Yeah. And then I start applying to get clients. Nice. And really work trying to get the work in. Mm-hmm. And then I think one thing will lead to another, because then I can create a podcast that talks about maybe mindset and stuff like that, and start bringing people into that. But once again, it's like the whole shifting is like I feel like I'm doing I'm trying to tie the fighting workspace into the mindset. Yeah. So I want to work with fighters mostly, males as well, because as males, you know, that like we have the particular thing where if you I don't know, if you show up a size of weakness, then you know you're a CC or whatever. Yeah. And we all tend to be strong. Yeah. It's a lot of men out there. That's why it's kind of like never talk about men's health, right? It's one of those things that like we have to be strong, because you know women view you some way.
People will prey on weakness.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like ways for you to be able to talk to a person one-on-one, and then maybe if that's your weakness, how can we fix that and get you to a better state where you can, you know, become the person you always wanted, or at least get out of the state you're on, you know. So that's kind of like what I want to do now. So.
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna, like, your Instagram and stuff, I'm gonna link it below when I post the podcast. 100%. If somebody wants to hit you up, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So Instagram is always gonna be the best. That's what I work the most. I don't use many other sources besides that. So they can just reach me at Jon, is JONN Calderon. That's gonna be on IG, just like that. You'll find me there. Send me a DM, you know. Cool. And whether it's, you know, fighting or mindset, and just
cool. Like I told you guys, I train with the man. He's legit, so hit him up. But yeah, bro, I appreciate you coming on. I'll let you know, because I'm always doing events too. So if you're down to speak, I'll give you a stage.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Cool. Yeah, that's how I want to be all the confidence.
Yeah. All right, guys, awesome. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.